Hello and welcome to Eco-Terrorism. I'm Zeinab Bailoun. Raising public awareness through media and changing people's mentalities into more environmentally friendly ones are not easy tasks. Joining us today in the studio to discuss this issue is Dr. Ziad Chaker, Senior Engineer and Founder of Cedar's Environmental. So thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to start with, before we continue our discussion, we're going to take a quick look at this report.
Public awareness, a concept praised by many environmental activists around the world to highlight the dangerous phase the environment is passing through, faces a shift in its way of promotion. Indeed, awareness of climate change, genetically modified organisms, waste management, and other environmental concerns has increased in the last few years through blogs, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media tools. For instance, BeeLebanon blog, which is owned by Dr. Dany Obeid, aims at focusing on the status of bees in Lebanon as well as in the Middle East and the dangers they face due to the climate change and global warming. Cedar Environment blog, maintained by Dr. Ziad Chaker, the founder and senior engineer of Cedar Environmental, highlights many environmental concerns, such as Cedar trash mountain recycling processes and interviews done with Dr. Ziad Chaker. In this regard, the United Nations Environmental Programme believes that environmental awareness campaigns are most successful when targeted to specific groups or populations. Therefore, the United Nations Environment Programme sees that in the developed countries and urban areas, the use of print, broadcast, and internet media can be a great way to increase education and awareness. By working with the media, government agencies, nonprofit organizations can help spread their message, either by holding press briefings, issuing print press releases, or even setting up online databases that can be used as information centers. Information centers can be useful tools to educate both the public and journalists about environmental concerns. Nevertheless, there is still a lot of work to be done to increase public awareness, particularly in underdeveloped countries.
So, Dr. Ziad Chaker, what can you tell us about your Cedar's Environmental blog?
Well, I started that blog as like an environmental diary. I wanted it to keep it private, but then I was always asked by people, we would like to know more about what you guys do, and this is why I took it online, and I really like the fact that we are all so connected now. So it's good to people, to connect to other people's and other initiatives, so people would know what's going on, and they would also promote your activities as well. So this is why we started the environmental blog. And there are some issues that are not covered by mainstream media, and I definitely wanted to shed light upon them.
So when you say that you like that we are connected, who exactly is we? We
as a society, we have become, now it's they say we've become a global village. That's okay, that's fine, and this global village needs to communicate, and the more we communicate, it's better on all kinds of levels. Now, you can't do anything and get away with it as easily as you used to before.
Do you think there are negatives to this?
Of course, everything has its positives and its negatives, but I would like to think that the positives of this connectedness outweighs the negative.
So what exactly is Cedar's International, and what do you guys do as an organization?
We specialize in building recycling plants on the communal level. We are going against the trend that we have either one mega recycling plant set at a distance from a community or a big community or a metropolitan community. We would like to change that perspective and create as many recycling plants as possible, as close to communities as possible.
When was the last time that you built a recycling plant in a certain community?
The last one we worked on was back in 2006. It was in South Lebanon. But now we're working on a major one in the northern areas.
And how is the progress on the ones that you had before? Do you think that that it has been effective? Do you think that people have been excited? Maybe their outlook on this issue has changed because of
course,
these recycling plants?
One of our plants in a village called Khirbat Silm in Qada bint Jbail celebrated its 11th year in operation last September. So we are really happy about that, because this was a first in Lebanon, a recycling plant that lasted for so long. Sorry, and this is like we still have the original equipment there, built 11 years ago locally.
So do you think it has met your expectations?
Oh, definitely, and beyond. And it was, we built on that experience to kind of expand the scope of work that we do. This has been very encouraging for us.
So in terms of the blog, if we move back to communicating this message that you're trying to get across, do you think that the blog allows you to communicate this message effectively, or do you think it's kind of a tool that you need to use?
Basically, we are using the blog. We are, I like to think that we are unique in terms of doing research and development in kinds of environmental technologies. We are kind of unique in the Middle East who as an organization who does this kind of work. So this is why I wanted to spread the word that hey, we can do something about plastic bags. We don't have to wait for others to import their solutions. We can develop our own solution locally. We also shed light on slaughterhouse waste. What we do with that. It's all on the blog. And sometimes, we come up with new ideas or new concepts, or what I call them on the blog, eco-creations. Our latest was a portable toilet, which is sitting now in the Baruch Cedar Reserve. And it was made out of 91,000 plastic bags, using eco-board technology, which we developed here locally in Lebanon.
So you've been working on such issues, environmental issues, since 1991.
Yes.
How exactly have you seen the changes in terms of people's outlook on this issue over time? Do you think over the last 2 decades that people have changed a lot? People are more perhaps receptive to environmental issues?
Yes, the biggest change you feel it was like starting 5 years ago, where you could see that the environment has been really a focused on issue, because of first of all, demographically we are expanding, lands are not as available as they used to be. So now we see this shift in the thinking with municipalities, because like prior to 5 years ago, they would have a huge or vast amount of land to use as landfill. But now, as land valued and people and demography increased, they can't afford 100,000 square meters of landfill anymore. They would rather use only 10,000 and build a recycling plant than use 100,000 and adopt a landfill technology.
So
in urban settings, also the concentration of people available has made the environment, the air quality, the wastewater issues, building issues, these have come to the forefront, and people now are actively thinking about them. We started seeing green buildings licensing in Beirut, which was really not heard of 7-8 years ago.
Where did this start?
It started in the main downtown area.
Was it from people, or do you think it was from the environment encouraging? Do you think it was from certain organizations?
I think it was a combination of several factors. Because of the raised awareness now, people started saying, what, we're gonna build a green building, and that sets them apart from competition. So they are probably catering to people who are environmentally aware that if they want to buy a house or a flat, they would rather pick something green if it's available. So now they created this availability, which was not there 7-8 years ago.
So for them to be thinking that it's profitable for them to cater to certain types of people who do care about the environment, it means that there are more people in the society. There's perhaps a cultural change in terms of how important the environment is for Lebanese people.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not just on the level of municipalities, as you were saying, it's also on the level of the culture, you'd say.
Yeah, actually, on the level, it's always like the people that drive this awareness towards the public sector. Definitely, I can safely say that there are a lot of private citizens who are more aware and more concerned about protecting the environment, and they push that agenda towards their local municipality or their local government or even their local representative, political representative.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about this issue of raised awareness and how it's important, how it has been increasing. What do you think has been the main factor in influencing this? Do you think it has been media? Do you think it has
Definitely.
been...
It has been this connectedness that we started our conversation with, Now we see what's going on in China. Now it pains me every time I look at a report coming from the Far East and you see people wearing masks during the day because of the tremendous air pollution. So now, when I come to Beirut sometimes and the air is really heavy, I think about these people in China as well, and I'm always worried that will we reach that level one day where I'll have to go walking in Hamra wearing an air mask. Mm-hmm. So that's now it's in the psyche of all of us. Mm-hmm. Too bad on the decision-making level, it hasn't reached that level yet. Mm-hmm. But at least, as time goes by, people who are really environmentally aware, eventually they will end up in decision-making positions, and they will keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. So in talking about this media issue and this awareness issue, how do you think your blog has contributed to changing this level of awareness?
Thank God for Google, because now even unconcerned citizens who have any kind of question that they would like to answer, they can go on Google and probably end up on our blog. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of a privilege and a duty for us to put as much information out there so people would know what's going on and what can be a solution or some kind of answer to their environmental problems.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Dr. Abi Chaker. We'll be back, but we're going to take a short break, so please stay tuned.
Around the world, outside the mainstream, anywhere, everywhere. A media of your land, of your creation. A new media in a new era. Will it take the lead in the future? I believe so. This is Underground.
Underground, when vague turns to clarity.
Wherever those are persecuted, that place we tackle case by case.
Cases, where we believe that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Welcome back. We were pleased to interview Dr. Dany Obeid, the owner of the BeeLebanon blog. The following report addresses his insights.
When we asked Dr. Dany Obeid about his blog and what does it highlight, he answered, "The blog is www.beelebanon.wordpress.com. As the title refers, it is concerned with bees and the bee sector. Though I am focusing on the sector in Lebanon, articles related to bees from all over the world are also available. Bees are fragile creatures, and during the last decade they faced many problems, and their number have been decreasing dramatically because authorities are not taking any measures in this regard. When asked about his opinion about the relationship between non-mainstream media and raising public awareness, he said, "Mainstream media, despite their importance, are reluctant to freely say their opinion and often execute the agenda of their sponsors. This is where non-mainstream media can play a major role, as it is said, in transforming readers into active participants of everyday dealings and events affecting their lives. Interaction with the readers and other bloggers is considered easy through comments and reblogging options. It is possible to unite the bloggers by posting about the same issue in order to raise awareness and trigger a positive discussion around an important issue that affects us all." And regarding the specific contributions of his blog in raising awareness, Dr. Obeid indicated, "In the blog, we gathered most of the info related to bees and the bee sector in Lebanon. The blog was a very useful tool to advertise the Plan B. The idea was to gather researchers from different backgrounds in an associated research unit to conduct researches related to bees and fight the colony collapse disorder. A first draft was published on the blog. Comments were gathered from the different readers and bloggers. A second draft was then published, taking into consideration all the needed amendments and proposing an action plan that involved all considered scientists. The final draft of the project is almost ready now and will be applicable as of 2014.
So how exactly do you think that, since we're talking about blogs and their effect on the awareness of people, how do you think non-mainstream media can affect people and their awareness in a different way as opposed to regular media?
I think they play a tremendous role because they choose to cover subjects that mainstream media might not be interested in, or does not generate enough revenues for them or enough viewers. But see, like a blog like Dany's is tremendous because you could go and read as much as you want about bees and bees protection and what's going on with the colonies and stuff like that. But would you imagine mainstream media covering that in detail over like a half-an-hour documentary? I doubt it would be on their agenda.
So why exactly is the issue of the environment so close to your heart?
I don't know, actually. I was so young when I was subjected to this, and I just fell in love with it. And since then, I could never see myself doing anything else. So. And I enjoy challenges, and environment has been a really huge challenge for all of us. What we do with our waste, what can we do to sustain our future, our cities, our communities. So it's a tremendous brain picker, if you want. So I like doing that.
Do you think it's a challenge because we're in Lebanon, or do you think it's a challenge in general?
It's a challenge everywhere, huh? It's. People think that we are far worse off than others. We're all in the same boat here. So of course, there are places where they are addressing the issues in a faster manner, and they implement action plans quicker. But nevertheless, they do have their problems, like we do, and we are addressing our problems as well. We do have an environmental prosecutor now, which is, I think it's huge. So now, if you suspect there are any cases of illegal pollution, you can sue. We did not have that a decade ago.
Do you think this love for the environment has affected those around you, specifically in for example, your friends, your family, that the way that they see the environment around them?
Of course, because now they see the potential of waste. At least I'm talking about my immediate circle, because we've proven so many times that whatever is discarded, with a little change in perspective and a little shift in paradigm, we can create a lot of value from what people throw away. So people around me now, I can see them lamenting sometimes. Like they travel and they come back and they say, I can't believe they're doing this with their garbage in this X country, let's say. While here we're composting, we're producing organically certified fertilizer from waste materials. So yes, they definitely, some of the passion has rubbed off of them.
And how do you think we can use this to also affect those around us in our circles?
Actually, this is what it takes. It takes like one individual at a time. I mean, you can start a blog about what you are passionate about, and you will, lo and behold, you'll find that there are a lot of people who will sometimes through Google searches will find you and will connect to you. And now it has been really easy because, you know, Dany says in his interview that, you know, blogging has made it really easy for people to comment on stories, to reblog, or to even connect directly to the author. So it has become, disconnectedness has also brought kind of a quickness to the whole level of dealing with it.
There's more give and take, perhaps.
Of course, of course.
And where do you think this change is taking us?
I think it's taking us to a really nice place. You know, I don't like to be negative about it. Change is always good. Change is always good, and eventually, you know, we will reach a point where we say enough with the troubles, or enough with the excess pollution. Let's start doing something about it.
What do you think is still missing in terms of this whole issue, this whole environmental issue? Do you think it's the issue of the government not being involved enough? Do you think
this is the main issue. I think at a certain point we will need governmental bodies to step in a bolder manner and say, you know, enough is enough. You know, we have a law here that says polluter pays, but it's not being applied properly. So now 90% of the pollution that goes on in the country can be stopped under the law. It just takes a strong government and a strong environmental watchdog body that would say, you know what, you're a company and you dump your waste in the river, you have to stop doing that and you have to clean up after you. So once we reach that, I think we will make a tremendous leap forward in safeguarding the environment we live in.
So since we're talking about this issue of awareness and raising awareness, not only using the media, but also non-mainstream media, how do you think schools, what type of role do you think schools should play in terms of, say, the curriculum that they offer, the way that they teach the kids to change their outlook on the environment? Do you think it's something important?
Oh, it's primordial. I mean, you know, and you know, we at Cedar have started many programs with school, with young kids, to kind of encourage them not to throw away their plastic wrapping packages of their sandwiches, their candy bars, their ice cream wrappers, their sandwich wrap, whatever. And we kind of stress to teachers that as early as you can, please start with these kids and make them aware that whatever they throw away can be recaptured and something of value can be produced out of it. So once you start with them young, you know, by the time they reach their teens or their young adults, they would really know the value of that plastic wrap that they had, that this can be transformed into something useful, into a bench, into a table, into a bus stop maybe, or maybe into a prefab house. So it's really very important that they know the value of what they are throwing away, so they will stop throwing it. And hopefully some of them will start initiatives to kind of recycle these or collect them in their communities to do something of value with them.
Let's say we move from kids to college-age people, or people who are even in the workplace. Do you think you need to come from a certain background to care about the environment or to make a difference? Or do you think all of these different backgrounds can come together? Say engineering, does it help? Studying mathematics, can it help in some way? Are there different, for example, political science, say making a difference in the government, making a difference in terms of the policies that the government has? How do these different backgrounds come together to help the environment?
Sure, it all helps. But my experience has been that, you know, people who in their youth were subjected to environmentally aware programs do the most work when they become young adults in their communities, in their workplace. So, I get a lot of calls from offices saying, you know what, we generate a lot of plastic from all the water drinking bottles. What can we do? How can we recycle these? And so the awareness is there. The awareness is there. The problem is that, you see, the problem with recycling is logistics. This is where the huge cost is. Saving about 100 kilos of plastic has no value. So when you have to transport them, if you don't transport at least 1 to 2 tons per day, then your transportation cost will overset the value of the materials you are collecting. So it does take a kind of a collective effort of everybody to generate mass. This is how recycling works. Once you generate mass and it makes sense to transport whatever you've collected, then recycling works. And this is where everybody comes in together. Like creating awareness in the office and not doing anything about it, it's not gonna lead anywhere. Assembling a lot of plastic bottles and not being able to transport them also would be a lost effort. So there are a lot of majors that need to come in together and work together to kind of accomplish this.
Before we conclude for today, do you have any final words, any conclusive remarks about what we said?
We should not despair. I think the future is kind of bright for the environmental action. Sometimes it only gets worse before it gets better, but at least we should all think that eventually it will get better.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abi Chaker, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Before we end our episode for today, here are some ways that you can follow to go green and to save your money. The first involves saving energy to save money. Set your thermostat to a few degrees lower in the winter and a few degrees higher in the summer. How about saving water to save money? Plant drought-tolerant native plants in your garden. Also, think before you buy. Go online to find new or gently used second-hand products. And finally, keep electronics out of the trash. Donate or recycle electronics responsibly when the time comes, because e-waste is an environmental problem as well. Thanks to Dr. Ziad Abi Chaker, Senior Engineer and founder of Cedar's Environmental, for joining us in the studio. That's it for today. This was Eco-Terrorism, and I'm Zeinab Bailoun. See you next week.